Liverpool owners were prepared to spend big to accept big signings before the deadline. Liverpool were smashed by Brighton yesterday, and the Reds now find themselves at 8th place in the Premier League table. Based on current form, the Merseysiders have no way of making it into the top 4, and as such they need to take action to strengthen the roster before the transfer deadline expires in 2 weeks. After the humiliating fight against the Seagulls, Jürgen Klopp made a big statement claiming this was the worst performance he had ever witnessed from his team in his entire career. There was absolutely no one on the field who knew what he was doing and rebelled against this situation. It is obvious that the weakest link is the midfield. Despite having big names like Fabinho, Henderson, and Thiago, the midfield was consistently lost and dominated by Brighton. Liverpool could not take control of the midfield throughout the match. After the course of the league, the match to be faced with Real Madrid in the Champions League next month started to feel even more frightening. According to sources close to the club, Liverpool owners are prepared to spend big if they believe they've got the right name before the transfer window closes this month. According to Football Insider, the Reds are working on a number of quality players at the box office and on their radar. The news source stated that FSG will not stop spending big if the right deal is signed in the next 2 weeks. Bellingham reportedly remains Liverpool's #1 goal but will likely stay at Dortmund until the summer. Midfielders like Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, and Declan Rice are also on the radar. Considering that Liverpool will lose more than one midfielder at the end of the season, the January addition is quite vital. The transfer to be made must be capable of reversing the bad trend this season, and must fight to find a place for himself in the midfield next season. Who do you think Klopp should sign to strengthen the team before the winter transfer window closes? The Red assess January move for Ruben Neves. Liverpool are interested in Wolves midfielder Ruben Neves. According to reports, Liverpool are considering a move for Wolves star Ruben Neves as the midfielder enters the last 18 months of his contract. It may be available on the market for a reduced fee as Neves has stopped signing a new deal at Molino. The Wolves once valued Neves at around £70 million. Former boss Bruno Lage once even said it would take £100 million to ban the Portuguese player from the Midlands club. But that valuation drops every week that Neves refuses to sign a new contract. The 25-year-old has attracted the interest of many clubs in Europe and looks set to leave Wolves in the next 18 months. Liverpool seem to be weighing in on a move for Neves that will see Jürgen Klopp play a key role in the revamping of their midfield. It appears that Jürgen Klopp is a big fan of Neves and the Reds can now take the opportunity to go and get him. Newcastle is also monitoring the status of the former Porto's player, but their interest is unlikely to turn into an offer until the summer. The Mirror has suggested that Liverpool could make a move for Neves in January. This is despite Klopp's insistence that the budget for the Reds transfer window was spent on the £43 million deal to bring Cody Gakpo from PSV to Anfield. Gakpo was added to Liverpool's roster to add an attacking verve to Klopp's side. However, Neves can bring much-needed creativity in central areas and stand out with its dynamism. Liverpool's midfield has been a big problem in the first half of this season. While most of the club's midfielders are over the age of 30, young Harvey Elliott is still learning to play in the position, having spent most of his youth career on a large field. It is known that Klopp is looking to bring in a few new players to strengthen the midfield, but it has been suggested that it could be thwarted by Liverpool's budget. However, as we just mentioned, the club management seems to have changed its mind after the negative results. Even though Neves no longer costs £70 million, they will still charge a hefty fee. The Reds are also interested in Neves' Wolves teammate Matheus Nunez. They tracked the Portugal national team player's status over the summer, but ultimately allowed the 24-year-old to join Wolves from Sporting Lisbon in an attempt to reconsider their interest in a future window. It is known that Klopp's biggest target is Borussia Dortmund star candidate Jude Bellingham. Liverpool are leading the race among Premier League clubs to bring England's starlet back to the country, but they will face strong competition from Real Madrid in the summer. Liverpool's midfield squeaks badly and Jürgen Klopp needs an injection of quality there right now. Saturday's 3-0 loss at Brighton and Hove Albion showed once again that waiting until summer wasn't good enough. Liverpool now need an effective player, ideally to fill some of the gaps in Liverpool midfield as Jorginho Wijnaldum brilliantly did. Neves isn't exactly that kind of player, but he can bring some composure and real quality to the ball. Liverpool's assistant Pepijn Lijnders, who seems to have a big say in the signings after the agreements for Luis Diaz and Gakpo, worked with Neves in Porto. The prospect of a reunion may be tempting to Neves, but it's not yet clear whether Wolves will actually sell in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window. Liverpool are ready to sign the next Erling Haaland. When Erling Haaland took the stage, he came out of nowhere and just swept any talent under the rug. Tall, fast and fearless, the Norwegian has managed to become the definition of a superior football player. It wasn't Red Bull Salzburg who first introduced the electric and noisy style of play to the football world, but it was the Austrian team that made him one of the top talents in world football today. Without Salzburg, the Norwegian would never have faced competition like the Champions League and would not have made mega money moves since conquering the Bundesliga and the Premier League. But Haaland is not an anomaly in the Red Bull machine. New talent keep coming and then they move on to some of the best in European football. From Patson Daka to Karim Adeyemi and Benjamin Iko, the list goes on and on. A model that Liverpool are undoubtedly familiar with. Sadio Mane, Naby Keita and Takumi Minamino are proof enough for that. Although Edwards is no longer at the club, Liverpool continues to watch for talent at Salzburg. The latest of these players to follow in Haaland's footsteps is Ivory Coast international Karim Konate. At just 18 years old, Konate emerged as a junior in the league, scoring 20 goals in 29 games for his childhood team Mimosas, and 10 goals in 12 games in the African Confederations Cup and African Champions League. He had to wait until his 18th birthday to move to Europe and made a wise choice. Rather than be deceived by the temptations of some European giants, Konate opted for the pragmatic option of Salzburg, where he did not take long to settle. Salzburg hired the young player to Liefering, the second team of the Austrian second league club, to get him used to European football. Konate has scored an impressive 10 goals and recorded 2 assists in 14 games so far. He has 5 goals and 2 assists in just 6 games for Salzburg's U19 team in the UEFA Youth League. Konate not only settled in European football, he took it by storm. A clever striker with speed and power in the Haaland style, Konate has shown he's ready for the next step and it's inevitable that Salzburg will score regularly for the top team before long. It is reported that Liverpool are watching Konate very closely and are considering a move in the summer.